Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing the Heat versus Rockets post-game reaction video, and the Rockets lose again to are currently on a four-game losing streak and lose to the Heat 94 to 101. And this was kind of one of those games that we've been seeing in the past few games where we start out pretty okay, and like we started the first quarter 29 to 19, we build up that 10-point lead, but then we kind of started trailing off at the end. With the third quarter, we only had 10 points, which is pretty abysmal, and that just shows our inability to really come back. Like when we get down by 10, we just kind of lack that offensive power to kind of get back. I feel like that's what happened with the Harden trade and everything. Like although we got better on defense, we lost a lot of production, a lot of scoring potential by losing Harden. So, what are your takeaways from this game?
My takeaway from this game, number one, before we get into the issues that we noticed from this game, I want to talk about the positive. Jayshawn Tate had another really good game. His rookie of the year case really improving. I don't see him not making an all rookie team this season, but looking at the negatives, I think this team's lack of offensive firepower is really starting to show. With Harden, we had like a consistent 30 points per game when he was committed. That we don't really have that anymore. And with Wood being gone, we also was another consistent 20, 25 point per game scorer.
Mm-hmm.
And so this team's offensive shortcomings are really being exposed over the past few games.
Yeah, and obviously with all the injuries, like Victor Oladipo got injured mid-game, PJ Tucker got injured later in the game with he was limping, and it just shows that like how injuries have really deterred it stops us from getting the ball rolling, in a sense that we're unable to get like consistent lineups. Our lineups are unpredictable every single game. That hurts our consistency, and so yeah, it just like there's this thing where when you like play with a certain group of players for multiple games, you'll start getting clicking and making everything a work and gel, right? So, and another negative from this game is that we're losing the rebounding game, and that we lost the rebounding game. Let's see, we had 42 rebounds to their 49 rebounds, but the our rebounding deficiencies really showed in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, where John Wall hit a three, and then we were only 3 points behind, and then we were unable to get the ball back after it rimming out from the Heat players, and then we were forced to foul them, and that was just how the game ended from there. So that's just another issue that this team needs to fix.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those things that, the injury of Christian Wood, that's really one of the impacts of that. Christian Wood, when he comes in, Christian Wood this season averaging, double digit rebounds, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that the loss of someone who's averaging those amount of rebounds, that's really going to hurt you. And it showed in the clutch in this game. Having someone like Christian Wood, who knows, that presence could have easily won us the game had he been there.
Yeah, exactly. And at least one of our players had a great night. DeMarcus Cousins, he was 6 of 9 from the field, nice. But 3 of 4 from three, and he had 16 points, 11 rebounds, so double double, and that was pretty good. I mean, if obviously we can't expect Boogie to make like have 16 points per game, obviously, but if he can get a casual 8 points per game off the bench, then that'll be really good for us, because obviously a lot of people have talked about Boogie, how slow he kind of is looking on the court, and how he's kind of a negative on the defensive end. He can hold his own on the offensive end, but not so much on the defensive end. And so I know he's hearing all the slander and everything, but I know he's trying his best. But this was a good game from Boogie. He was a -3, but his 3 point stroke has really come together over the past few games.
Yeah, I agree. Boogie Cousins has been slowly improving his play. He still had a couple of bad games every once in a while, but we're starting to see more of these good games out of Boogie Cousins. And I think, if he can keep this up, sort of be this rotational quality center for the Houston Rockets this season, I could see that being his role. And I think he'll fit in really nicely in that role, backing up Christian Wood and playing some of those backup center minutes. I think he'll do really well there.
Yeah, and Eric Gordon had a pretty good night too. He had 17 points in 31 minutes off the bench. I mean, he didn't have a great like. I mean, he did score a decent amount of points, but shooting wise, he was 5 of 13. Not so great defensively, as a -10. But I mean, that just shows that Eric Gordon is kind of making a case for a 6 man of the year. I mean, with this production that he's putting out, which is nice to see. It was nice to see vintage Eric Gordon, something we haven't seen in the past 2 years, where his shot hasn't been really falling. But it's nice to see Eric Gordon getting along too.
Yeah, I agree. And, Eric Gordon, for a good number of this season, especially once the Harden trade went down, Eric Gordon has probably been our third best player for a good number of the games after obviously Christian Wood and John Wall, because Victor Oladipo hasn't really been all that we expected him to be. And Eric Gordon has come in and really done well. It's almost like we're seeing the Eric Gordon that we saw in 2018, 2017, and those years prior. And it's really good to see him back playing the way that he did in those years where he won Sixth Man of the Year and won the 3 point contest and all of that. Obviously, didn't have the best shooting night tonight, but it's still good to see that he's making those contributions on the offensive and the defensive end for our team again.
Yeah, and PJ Tucker, he had 8 points, 3 rebounds, way better than the past or in the past few games that he's done, where he's had like 2 points, 0 points sometimes. So he's, I guess you can say it from like an objective point of view that he's building his value, and so that we can get more in the trade. I feel like PJ Tucker is. I feel like it could be a foregone conclusion that PJ Tucker is going to be traded. It just feels like it doesn't make sense for PJ to really be on a team that doesn't have much of a chance at actually winning the title, and it'd probably be best for both parties since like the Rockets team, they're going on that they're more focused on the future rather than the present, whereas PJ Tucker is more he doesn't have many years left. I feel like he's in his 30s, he's in the mid 30s, so I feel like it makes sense for both parties to part ways in a way that gets him to a contending team like the Miami Heat, and that's why I was kind of bummed out because I didn't Hero wasn't playing, and he could be a person that him Tucker and Oladipo are paired with to go to Miami, and we get Hero or someone back. So that's why I was kind of looking forward to seeing Hero play to see how he fares against our team.
Yeah, and PJ Tucker tonight shooting 2 for 4 from three. It's good to see that he's hitting those shots. If he can start hitting that shot, that corner 3 point shot, that's his specialty, more consistently, he can get us more in a potential trade with Victor Oladipo and PJ Tucker in a trade package. What I'm curious to see is if you could pair Victor Oladipo and PJ Tucker and get Tyler Hero, like you said, because if you can do that, I think that's the ideal. But if you can't, I think that the Rockets are going to have to settle with whatever they get from Miami or another contender, say Boston, for example. But yeah, like you said, it is pretty much a foregone conclusion that PJ Tucker is going to be traded in the upcoming weeks. And I think it's less a matter of if and when PJ
Mm-hmm.
Tucker is traded.
Yeah, it just like it was so crazy to see that now we're currently on a losing streak after being on a winning streak for so long. It's just like how things can change after one injury to Christian Wood, and so I just I just feel bad for Silas because like he's faced like the most like adversity I think any first year head coach has ever faced with the two superstars being traded in the same off season, lots of COVID, just a lot of like things issues like that. Just I mean, I feel for Silas. I strongly believe that he is going to be the guy to change the. I mean, direct this, steer, right the ship, and steer this team to the right direction in the future. And yeah, just hopeful for the best, I guess.
Yeah, and you have to give credit where credit is due to Steven Silas. A lot of head coaches forget first year head coaches, just head coaches in general. Not many would be willing to deal with adversity like this. Two like household name superstars causing all of that drama, and then after that's all done, you deal with all these injuries and the virus and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. You have to give credit to Steven Silas for being able to go through that, keep his head up, stay positive, and he's really just. It's been tough for him. He hasn't really been able to develop solid rotations. He's had players in and out due to trades, the virus, injuries, etc. And it's showing on the court. The offense is stagnating at times. 2 games, or I guess last game, we had 7 points in the fourth quarter against Charlotte, and then Miami, we dropped 10 points in the third quarter. And these are going to happen if you don't have the offensive firepower that you used to. If you don't have time to build chemistry and to get that good rotation, and kind of feel bad for Steven Silas, and I also hope that things can get better and he can fix these issues that are going on with the Houston Rockets and the roster.
And speaking of chemistry, John Wall, our locker room leader, had a pretty good night from the three. He was four from nine, which is really good, and that just shows that he's continuing to build on his shooting from three. Like he mentioned in the offseason that like that injury kind of helped made him focus to more shooting than like being explosive to the rim and whatever. But yeah, I think this is one of his best years from three, and I hope that he continues on improving it. He wasn't so great from the like overall from the field 5 of 13. I think he kind of settles for jumpers more often than not. And so I feel like if he just takes those kind of like Maury ball in a way where we only do layups and threes, I think that would be good because like I kind of agree with Maury ball in the sense that like those mid range jumpers, like the ones where you stall the shot clock for so long and then settle for that, I don't think that's quite efficient for what this team has identity has been for the past few years. So it just maybe Wall just tries to keep working at it, but that's just my take on that.
Yeah, and an interesting statistic: John Wall over the past 10 games has been shooting 38% from three, and that's really impressive. That's like pretty much exactly after the Harden trade happened. He's been shooting 38% from three, which is insanely good. And yeah, I mean, John Wall shooting great from three. That's a really good sign because last season one of the biggest problems that we had with Russell Westbrook was that he just did not have the 3 point shot. And now trading for John Wall and the fact that he still has that explosiveness in the mid range game and even the passing ability of Russell Westbrook and a 3 point shot, that's been a really good sign for the Houston Rockets and a really good thing to have on board. Because John Wall, as we all know, was not the best 3 point shooter earlier in his career. And so the fact that he's developed it and he's been using it really well in Houston, that's always a good sign to see. And I'm really happy for John Wall. And it's great to see that for the Houston Rockets.
Yep, and that's pretty much all I have for this video. Do you have any final thoughts?
As far as any final thoughts go, I think that the rebound game, I think we talked about earlier, the whole rebounding thing. And also just the fact that Jayshawn Tate has been a really good find. Like we covered it briefly earlier in the video, but I mean, I want to make it very clear that Jayshawn Tate is a really, really good pickup, and he's been playing scrappy defense. He's been doing all the hustle plays, and he's even getting improved. He's even improving on the offensive end, and this has been a really good find for Houston. And I'm just really excited to see what the future holds for Jayshawn Tate in a Rockets uniform.
Yeah, and Jayshawn Tate was actually like scoring on Bam Adebayo. He was defending Bam Adebayo, and he was like you said, he's been improving his production over the past few games, and I hope that trend continues. I wonder what our future Rockets lineup would be. It'd probably be a combination, maybe KPJ. He's doing pretty good in the G League. We'll talk more about him in a future video, but KPJ, maybe Mason Jones, Jayshawn Tate, maybe. Depending on how this Rockets team is looking at the end of the year, what first round pick we might have, we pick up someone with that or things like that, and obviously Christian Wood. But yeah, I mean, our future. You would think that our future wouldn't be so bright after going through two huge franchise-altering trades, but it's looking pretty up for the Rockets. So we'll just end it off there on a high note, and let's just hope that the Rockets get it going the next game. And that's pretty much it for the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thank you all for watching. Peace.